Hello and welcome to the Katie Halper Show, this special late night edition of the Katie Halper Show. I am Katie Halper and I'm joined by
Leslie Lee the Third,
Leslie
host of
Lee
Struggle
the
Session,
Third, host of
Patreon,
Struggle Session.
patreon.com/struggle session or sesh.plus, and Katie, exciting news, also the host of Culture on the Call-In app. And you will be joining me immediately after the Katie Happer Show in the Call-In app or 1-900-culture.com. Call-in show. You can call in, talk to me, talk to Katie about anything you want on the Calling app immediately after this exciting Katie Halper show.
Yeah, so it's very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's exciting. We have a great night ahead of us. Have a great show here on the Katie Halper Show, and of course, you can always support the show. First of all, I want to pause. Everyone, stop what you're doing. Well, hopefully, you're just watching this, so keep watching and hit the like. All right. If you know the show and you like the show already, just hit the like. Now, some of you may be like skeptical, may not know if you like the show. Fine. I understand that. But I think a lot of you out there, I'm going to guess like at least a third already know that you like the show. So pay it forward without paying a cent and just hit the like. Also, subscribe, press the bell so you don't miss out on any notifications. YouTube has kind of changed that, which is weird. I don't know if you've noticed that they're not like giving notifications as much anymore. So that's weird. That's annoying. But either way, you know where to find me every Tuesday and every Sunday, usually at 7 p.m. Sometimes we start a little late, like we're doing right now. But whatever. Worst thing happens. You come, you're a little early. You get some more time to do whatever you want to do, and then you come back and watch. But basically, it's 7 p.m. Sundays and Tuesdays. Like the show. Let's see. Did we get any likes? I should do a screen. I should show like screen share so we can see the likes. It takes me a minute to figure out where my likes are. Let me see. That sounds more like a metaphor than it actually was intended to be. How many likes do we have? Where my likes are. Let's see. How many likes do we got? I can't tell. Sometimes YouTube looks crazy. Let's see. 178 likes. That's actually a good like to watch ratio.
Yes, very good. Very
Wow, guys, that's good. And we're going to do another like check-in soon, and we'll see if the numbers pop up. So thanks, everyone. Also, you are going to want to become Patreon supporters at patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Why do you want to do that? Well, just to help make the show happen, to support the show, but also because you get exclusive episodes, extended interviews, lots of great behind-the-scenes stuff.
Tons of bonus contents and tons of exclusive interviews. Some of the biggest stars in the world.
It's true. I mean, we're going to be dropping one soon with Gabor Mate. That's pretty amazing. I already have paywalled amazing Patreon episodes with a really great one with Adolph Reed. Great stuff with Richard Wolff just from this week alone. Tons of stuff. You're gonna love it. Personal interviews. I'm gonna start focusing more and more on that in the Patreons. Do you think it's a good idea?
Oh yeah, that's always nice.
Like people like to know, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like that could be your catchphrase. The Katie Happer Show. People like to
like to
know.
know. That's great. All right, let's write that down. Brad, Tyler, could you guys write that down? Everyone say hi to Brad. Everyone say hi to Tyler. Everyone say hi to Phantom Esfanta, who does great clipping during the show. Also wanted to hi Brett and Honey. Hi David Silberg. Just saying hi to some of my regulars. Ungato, TLD Forever. Also want to let people know. Hi Lisa Mojica. Also want to let people know that they can become members of the show. Members. And when they become members, they get to say they're members. They get to have a badge. And you know what else they get? They get emoji. They get Bodhi emojis.
Bodhi emojis.
Yeah, they get emojis, including Bodhi emojis. Emojis. Yeah. Yeah. And then we already got some great feedback. Oh, this you'd love to see it. This is so nice. Bless up, Katie Halpa. Thank you, Egg64. But don't worry, Leslie. We got some praise. We got some kind words for you.
Oh.
You too, Les. I guess you I too.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. So we have a great show for you today. We have two amazing guests joining the show. Trevor Beaulieu from Champagne Sharks, a very, very, very sharp guy. Cultural critique, political critique, everything that you could ask for. Also, Brianna Joy Gray, journalist, host of the Bad Faith podcast, former press secretary to Bernard Sanders. What else? Let me just take one more question from the audience. Have you ever thought of having Whitney Webb on to discuss the Epstein case? She has a new book coming out about next month. Love everything you do. Gracias. Gracias. I am in talk. We're in talks, actually.
No.
Yeah. We're in talks.
Your people are talking to her people.
Yeah, my people are talking to her people. Yeah. And so yeah, become members, and you just do that on YouTube. When I say members, I mean literally on YouTube. That's all you do. So we're gonna bring in our first guest, and then we're gonna be joined later by our other guest. But let's just bring in. You already know him if you've seen the show, or if you haven't, you're gonna know him now, and you're gonna love him. Welcome, Trevor.
Hey, what's going on? How's everyone
How are
doing
you?
tonight? Yeah, I'm okay. I can't complain. Snowing here in New York, so that's fun.
But you got that tropical background to offset it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that greenhouse look.
Yeah, you know
So-
what happened too? I have a new camera, so it has like a bigger view. So I always had all this stuff, but
Oh.
you guys used to just see like this much. So now you guys get to
Yeah.
see like exactly
Now
how
you're in
crazy it is.
widescreen, IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you get to
yeah.
see all the garden in its full splendor.
Yeah, it's great. So we, this week is a little bit of a last week we did something called Pricks of the Week, and we went over some Pricks of the Week, and we kind of voted on who were the best or worst. And this week, honestly, I was collecting some Pricks of the Week, and they were almost all Democrats, and they all revolved around the same thing, which was just basically Democrats being either cowards or inept or a combination thereof. Or not even cowards or inept, but actually just cynical. And I just thought we might as well just do it. We can do it as Pricks of the Week. I mean, this is a multi-genre show. It's an interdisciplinary show. We can do it as a Pricks of the Week, or we can just do it as a kind of Democrats are terrible reminder show. But basically, I've organized it, and Leslie gave me some submissions also. So we've just organized it by person. We have a bunch of terrible pricks. But I thought that maybe we should start by going over a summary. Oh, thank you, Jonathan Boyle, for this. We could go over a summary that was actually released by Meet the Press. Now, I don't always agree with what Chuck Todd says, or Tuck Chod, as we call him on Useful Idiots says. And tune in, by the way, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to Useful Idiots, where you can watch our Monday morning show, which we do every morning at 10 a.m. EST. Where we go over the Sunday news morning shows that we watch that you don't have to. So just a little shout out for that. But let's watch this morning Meet the Press roundup. That's kind of a mashup of what happened this week before we get into our terrible Dems.
Something we did get done.
President Biden, after one of the worst weeks of his presidency, touting the infrastructure bill he signed 2 months ago.
There's a lot of talk about disappointments and things we haven't gotten done. We're going to get a lot of them done, I might add.
With the looming failure of voting rights legislation,
I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division.
and his economic plan, Build Back Better, stalled in the Senate.
I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't.
President Biden has been unable to bridge the wide gap between progressives and moderates in his own party, and is satisfying neither group.
It is about the Democratic Party trying to restore faith with the American people that they actually stand for something.
Democrats need to step up and lead this
Tim
country.
Ryan.
Many Democrats are calling for a reset, worried a stalled legislative agenda will hurt the party, which is already facing headwinds this fall. And a year after promising a change in tone,
We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature.
President Biden has failed so far to do that.
Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor?
So much for unifying the country.
Perhaps the president went a little too far in his rhetoric.
Outside of the infrastructure bill, a significant victory, Mr. Biden has been unable to build a small coalition of governing Republicans to make the public effort at bipartisanship that some swing state Democrats have been pleading for.
I wish there had been a more serious effort on the part of Democratic Party leaders to sit down with the other party.
For the third time in just over 3 months, President Biden went to Capitol Hill in person, this time for voting rights.
The honest to God answer is, I don't know whether we can get this done.
And for a third time, walked away with nothing to announce. 1 year in, Mr. Biden has the second lowest approval rating ever measured in the White House and has never been less popular nationally.
These guys said that they were going to come in and bring competence. The only thing they really brought into Washington is they're not Donald Trump.
President Biden successfully passed COVID relief legislation and the infrastructure bill, but has failed so far to move not just voting rights, but police reform.
Let's get it done next month.
Gun control legislation.
We can do this and save lives.
And to fulfill his promises on climate change.
We are resolving to take action.
He struggled on the chaotic Afghanistan pullout and on the economy. While a record number of jobs have been created this year, inflation is at a 40-year high.
Joe Biden is the president of high prices.
Perhaps most consequentially for November, Biden, who ran for president promising to beat COVID, has failed to beat it back.
I am concerned about the pandemic just because it worldwide is not slowing up very much.
All right. So that's a nice overview from our friends at Meet the Press. Now, I think that covers a lot of ground. We're going to be covering some more of that. But should we just, before we get into the pricks of the week, behind every great prick is a prick enabler, right? You can't have a prick without prick backup. And I wanted to start off with the prick enabler. Let's take a look at this clip. We got Hawaii Senator Mimi Hirono. It brings me no pleasure to say that. She seems like a lovely woman, very nice bedside manner, but let's see what she had to say.
Last week, Senator Bernie Sanders spoke to The Guardian and said it was actually Democrats who are failing the working class.
We could do a heck of a lot better. I don't agree with Bernie because we're the ones that have been fighting for the working people and for our families. And look at Build Back Better. It's all about helping our communities, our families, and getting everyone to be able to go back to work, childcare, all of that. So, I love Bernie, but in this, I think that he's being overly critical. It's very clear, though, that I am not saying that the Democrats are doing all that we can. We certainly could be doing a lot more and better.
Yeah. Strange example, because her pushback against Bernie saying that the Democrats are failing is Build Back Better, which they failed to pass.
Right.
So even under that criteria, like Bernie Sanders would be correct in that his assessment of that.
Yeah. That's right. Her example is something that they tried to do, like their heart's in the right place, I guess.
Yeah, they tried. They want like points for effort.
Let's see. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat, but the chat is being very nice. But yeah, points for effort. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. She didn't really throw Bernie under the bus. I think that she not everyone gets away with saying it like Bernie does. I think she could have been a little bit more yes and instead of no but or yes but. I don't know. What do you think, T?
I'm just kind of struck by how dramatically diminished in a year Joe Biden is. That's what kind of struck me in that clip when they showed him talking for a second. And I was like, did he take some pills or something? Then I looked at the date and it said, January 2021.
He looks drained. He looks like exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, people who come in good shape into the presidency get visibly haggard, like,
right.
By the end of it. So somebody who was kind of being propped up like Weekend at Bernie's during the running.
At Biden's, yeah.
Yeah, Weekend at Biden's. I just can't even imagine what he's going to look like. And part of me was, when I was watching this, I was trying to look at how bad everything is going now. But also, I couldn't help but fast forward, like, what is this going to be like when it's time to run again? Like, all they have to do is run somebody halfway competent on the right.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a wash. I think that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not like they're delivering many things, right?
No. And I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking about, what do you guys thought about cinema and managing? Because I mean, I get that they're swing state Democrats, so they have to, kind of straddle the fence to a degree. But I mean, they're just such blatant spoilers at this point. I don't even understand. I don't know.
Yeah, well, not to give it away, but they're part of our we're gonna get to that very quickly.
Okay.
We have one more Biden well, let's get to our first prick of the week. And then I think the second prick of the week will bring us directly to your question, Trevor. So Leslie, this one's from you actually. This was your prick.
Oh yes.
This is a good moment.
Yes, I think the clip kind of speaks for itself, and this is someone who I'm shocked if they haven't already been nominated multiple times. I know you have only been doing Prick of the Week for a few weeks, but
Yeah,
almost every
she
week
was
they
on it
have.
last week. I'm pretty sure she was on it last week for her statement about was she on it last week? She's always an honorary prick, but yes, let's go to the videotape of a certain
I have a couple specific ones, but I wanted to kind of follow
Jen
on that.
Psaki.
Jen
as you're determining
Psaki.
next steps, I mean, frankly,
Biden
things
spokeswoman.
just seem like they're going pretty poorly right now for the White House.
Things
You know,
going pretty
Build Back
poorly.
Better's being blocked,
Generals.
voting rights being blocked, diplomatic talks with Russia doesn't seem to have brought us
So
back
angry
from
right now.
the brink of war. Inflation's at a 40-year high. The virus is setting records for infection. So as we kind of hit this 1 year period and a period where everything seems like it's in pretty rough shape, or nearly everything, which is not an invitation, I guess, to list off some other things. I'm wondering at what point do you take stock and say that things need to change internally, whether it's your outreach toward the Hill, whether it's the leadership within the White House. You seem to be stymied on an incredible number of fronts right now.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a different take on this. More than 200 million people are vaccinated. We've had a record job growth, record low unemployment rates historically in this country over the last year. We've rebuilt our alliances and our relationships around the world. And right now, as it relates to Russia, as you heard our National Security Advisor convey, we're working with partners around the world to convey very clearly. It's up to them to make a choice about what's next. We're not going to make that on their behalf. It's up to them to determine if there are going to be crippling economic sanctions or not, or if they decide to move forward. But we also recognize when you have a small margin and threshold in the Senate, it's very difficult to get things done and to get legislation passed. And the fact that the president, under his leadership, got the American Rescue Plan passed, a bipartisan infrastructure bill with 19 votes in the Senate, about 6 votes in the House, the fact that we are still continuing to work with members to determine the path forward on Build Back Better, that we have the vast majority of Democrats in the Senate supporting voting rights, that's a path forward for us.
You
And our
can't brag
effort
about
is to
having
do
the
hard things,
vast
try hard
majority
things,
of
and keep at it.
Democrats
Yeah,
supporting
seriously.
voting rights.
I
So
know.
the sense is things are going
Vast
well. There's no room
majority.
for change right now.
I think that having worked in a White House before, you do hard things in White Houses. You have every challenge at your feet, laid at your feet, whether it's global or domestically. And we could certainly propose legislation to see if people support bunny rabbits and ice cream, but that wouldn't be very rewarding to the American people. So the president's view is we're going to keep pushing for hard things, and we're going to keep pushing the boulders up the hill to get it done.
She's always so patronizing.
She's so patronizing. She's so pissed off. She's so sarcastic. She's so passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
If
has
she
the
was
same-
a Trump press secretary, they would be ripping into her every
Oh
single
my God,
day.
exactly. But instead they're like, yes, Psaki bombs dropped.
Yeah, like she acts like I'm not the first person to say this, like a character from an Aaron Sorkin
Yeah.
drama, just
West Wing
very
brain.
smug, West Wing brain, and these people literally do have it. Like they live action role play as West Wing people, even like reporters like Matt Iglesias. The reason Matt Iglesias became a DC reporter is because he thought the West Wing was cool. That's how corny these people are, and they're in charge of the country. I absolutely despise this person, so that's why I nominate her. She's just like the worst of all worlds, and if things had swung a slightly different direction, she would have been a Republican doing this exact same job in the exact same way. She doesn't believe in anything, clearly doesn't even seem very good at the job, because she accidentally, like, she's so flippant that, like, she's not a very good press secretary either. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah.
Prick of the week, Jen Psaki.
Yeah, prick of the week, Jen Psaki. Yeah.
I mean,
Bunny
not to harp
rabbits
on
and
her,
ice
but
cream. Yeah.
I'm gonna say not to harp on her, but I don't even understand how you cannot tell she has a really bad personality for being your forward-facing person in the most press-facing person should not be someone like her. And I'm just really, I mean, I get that you think she did a good job for you, but just find someone else. I mean, I want to ask you guys this: do you think Simone Sanders would have been worse? I mean, Simone Sanders was pretty bad, but I think even she was not as bad as Saki is.
No, she would have definitely been better. And the fact that
These
they
are
didn't
bad in different
accuse
ways.
her,
Yeah.
it should have been very insulting to her that they chose this very, not very nice, not very personable white woman over her when Simone Sanders literally put her body on the line to
Yes.
save Joe Biden. Ultimate insult to her top 10 anime betrayals.
Yeah. Yeah. She she's no longer with Kamala. She's moved on. She's like a I think a consultant now, or on MSNBC. I don't know. One of
Yeah,
those.
she's on MSNBC, and she's probably calling in a bunch of favors. She's the kind of person who always land on her feet, so I'm sure she'll be okay.
She's
But
probably got a podcast coming pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crooked
exactly.
Media.
Yes, Crooked Media, definitely.
All right, so that's the Saki bomb. All right, so obnoxious. And also call back to last week when she also was a prick of the week for saying, like, what should we do? Send people tests for free? And it's like, actually, yeah, that's what you should do. Other countries are doing it. And now Biden did it a little too late. Someone asked, can we pick an international prick as well? Yeah, find one. And I'm sure, I mean, we usually will have a much more rounded, diverse body of pricks, but this week it's a little bit of a narrow prick focus, but definitely open to international focus pricks. So who's our next? Let's see, who's the next prick? Oh, this is a great prick. You love to see it. Let's go to as people know, and we're going to talk about this more probably, but this week the filibuster's been in the news because some Democrats want to change the filibuster to allow the passage of two major voting rights bills. And the Senate can change the filibuster when it needs to pass something that it can't get 60 votes for. So, for instance, they did that earlier with the debt ceiling, raising the debt ceiling limit. They did that. They changed the filibuster for that. They didn't get the 60 votes for that, and they allowed that to happen. But Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema oppose this filibuster carve-out for the Voting Rights Acts. And here is what Kyrsten Sinema had to say about this on Thursday.
About these state laws. I strongly support those efforts to contest these laws in court.
First of all, just totally aesthetic. I mean, her voice is so horrible to listen to. I think this whole time
sounds like she's crying.
She sounds like she's crying, but I think this whole time maybe we read into this wrong. Like we thought she was being avoidant because she didn't want to share what she had to say. But I think maybe she just didn't say anything, was always on her phone because she was embarrassed about the sound of her voice, which I would be if I were her. Anyway,
and to invest significant resources into these states to better organize and stop efforts to restrict access at the ballot box. And I strongly support and will continue to vote for legislative responses to address these state laws, including the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act that the Senate is currently considering. I support these bills because they strengthen Americans' access to the ballot box, and they better ensure that Americans' votes are counted fairly. It is through elections that Americans make their voices heard, select their representatives, and guide the future of our countries and our community. These bills help treat the symptoms of the disease, but they do not fully address the disease itself. And while I continue to support these bills, I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country.
Disease of division.
Talk about West Wing brain.
She was so happy when the intern brought her that and the staffer brought her that. Oh my God.
There's no need for me to restate my long-standing support for the 60-vote threshold to pass legislation. There's no need for me to restate its role protecting our country from wild reversals in federal policy. It is a view I've held during my years serving in both the U.S. House and the Senate, and it is the view I continue to hold.
Okay, so, it's great that she's so principled and consistent, but can we look at what she was saying in 2010?
So what does that
Brad,
mean? Well, in the Senate, we no longer have 60 votes. Some would argue that we never had 60 because one of those was Joseph Lieberman. But that's whatever. Yeah, and Nelson too, but really Lieberman. So now there's, I think as the president so eloquently said on Wednesday, there's none of this pressure, this false pressure to get to 60. So what that means is that the Democrats can stop kowtowing to Joe Lieberman and instead seek other avenues to move forward with health reform. And so it's likely that the Senate will move forward with a process called reconciliation, which takes only 51 votes. And by the way, is not unusual. You may recall that before the Democrats took the Senate in 2008, that the Republicans controlled the Senate for quite some time. In fact, since around 1994. They never had 60 votes, and they managed to do a lot of really bad things during that time. So the reconciliation process is still quite available, and we will use it for good rather than for evil.
So she seems to have really evolved on her position of process.
Yeah, very natural evolution, I'm sure.
I'm gonna be superficial and ask, why did she look more mature back then? Like now she dresses like
from Clueless, like she's from Clueless.
Like I was gonna say Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well, but yeah, same.
Yeah, she looked way more professional and whatever back then. Like now, yeah, exactly. I was kind of taken aback by that.
Yeah, I think that's part of her shtick is that she has to be. It's almost like it's actually interesting. It's almost like a pseudo woke thing. It's a similar. It's like almost the aesthetic parallel to that. It's like you're progressive in your. I mean, she's not. It's not progressive to look like Buffy, but she's trying to be like subversive or transgressive in the way she dresses. Maybe.
Was she always an open bisexual? Because I remember Milo Yiannopoulos was a very conservative, square-looking guy. I don't think he hid that he was gay. I don't think he was closeted, but he didn't like foreground it in his persona. And then once he started doing it, he became this stereotype of a gay person, but from 20 years ago. Like he was so out of touch. And I kind of feel like it's if that has something to do with her foregrounding being bisexual, if that's what she thinks
tapping into
bisexual is supposed to
20-year-old culture.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's straight out of like the Britney era or something. It's just very bizarre.
It is, yeah. I don't know.
She comes off as a more serious person back then.
Yeah, she does. Now. Well, because she's not, and by this point, so she was a Green in 2004, but by the time that she was she served in the Arizona House of Reps from 2005 to 2011 as a Democrat. So she was already, it's not like she already was able to be a Democrat and not a ghoul before. I don't know. It's depressing, but she's awful. And she hangs out with, all of her weird, her stuff is just weird. Her stuff with with Mitt Romney is weird, and her stuff with
what's going on
Mitch
with
McConnell.
Mitt Romney?
Oh, he's shaming. Actually, we have some from Romney coming up. He's shaming the he and Kirsten do stuff together though, didn't they? What's that show? Ned Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. They did something like a callback to that. Does anyone they posed in a photo?
Oh God.
Yeah. Let me try to find that.
Yeah. They oh God, it's awful. Actually,
she sucks so much because the whole disease thing about the disease. Okay, here it is. They actually did that, guys.
Oh God. Because already Ted Lasso is pretty cloying in the first place, but then to see these sickos cosplay it's
I know. Why are you doing that? That's so inappropriate. Why do you have the time to do that? Are you putting our taxpaying money into that role play? Did my tax dollars pay for that mustache, Mitt Romney?
An extremely corny role play of extremely corny show.
Yeah.
They don't even give us cool stuff, something funny. It would be funny if Mitt Romney tried to do, I don't know, Chappelle show cosplay or something. I don't know.
What was the context
something edgy,
of that?
Something provocative.
Was that for Halloween or something?
I think it was for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Right? Was that for Halloween?
I mean, there's no good place to put it.
No, you're right. There's no. That
curious,
almost
yeah.
suggests that there's
no
right.
justification.
There's no right. It's not justifiable. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
it was
inexcusable.
it was close to Halloween though.
Yeah.
But Jason Sudeikis responded positively to it, so he gave Mitt Romney
Gave
some
it the
love.
blessing. He gave that
Yes.
bipartisan ghoulery blessing. Wow.
Yes, he did.
But she just sucks so much because it's like, imagine like anyone's supposed to believe the idea that we think that anyone thinks that whatever it does, it's a fucking carve out. First of all, it's a carve out. You're not getting rid of the filibuster. You're doing it for one thing, which is Voting Rights Act, which in theory people care about. Like, this is the whole shtick of the Democratic Party. They're supposed to be against racist voter disenfranchisement. Like, what kind of ghoul do you have to be to actually block a carve out? I guess a cinema ghoul. And
I guess a cinema ghoul. I guess that's it. Like, she is one of the, I don't know, like the worst like version of a late stage American like senator. Like, she's the worst of everything. Like, she's like a twee SJW, but also like covered in like big pharma money and extremely like culturally right wing still somehow.
Yeah,
like
right.
at the same time is the worst of all worlds.
Remember, she voted against the raising the minimum wage.
Yeah, with the thumbs.
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Like the worst of like is everything we
And that
hate.
little backpack.
Everything you hate about
her little
conservatives and
backpack.
liberals and Democrats and Republicans just rolled into one awful package.
Yeah, she really is. But she's like off. You almost feel bad for her. Like, you feel like Jen Psaki would look at her and be like, wow, what is she wearing? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and she would actually admire Jen Psaki's like clothes and ask her where she got it. Yeah. Poor Kirsten. Kristen or Kirsten? I always mess it up. Which one is it? It's a fake name.
I mean, look, I you hate to name shame, but I mean, how does someone that age, how's their name? I mean, Kirsten, that's like I didn't know white people had names like that pre like 2000. I didn't know Caden and Jaden and all that was going down back then.
Seriously. Kirsten.
I'm sorry, I don't want to name shame. Obviously, I don't want to name shame, but
No.
I mean, I think you can name shame white people before a certain time.
Can you imagine though someone being like, I don't want to go, I like Kristen, that's okay, but what about Kirsten? Like, let's just jazz it up and
but then like Kirsten, like not even the way that's normally
spelled.
The Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
Hold
like
on,
we have
minimum
things like
wage
Tiffany
earner.
and Stephanie with a double E. That was a thing
Yeah.
for a while. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was sworn that didn't start till like the 80s or the 90s.
She was a trailblazer. Oh, she was openly bisexual, Kirsten named person before it was cool. Wait, what was the 2014 tweet, Brad? Brad just said that was a 2014 tweet. What, the thing that you just showed us? A full-time minimum wage earner makes less than $16K a year. This one's a no-brainer. Tell Congress to raise the wage. Oh, that's hilarious. So she tweeted raise the wage. That was in what year?
2014.
2014. And yet something happened. I guess she got a lot wiser. No, this is true. This is perfect. It's like something happened to her. She's devolved. It's like, the Benjamin Button. What is it? What's that, right?
She's got a Benjamin Button on her.
Yeah, she's got
That's
Benjamin Button.
down.
So like she used to be for, raising the minimum wage. She used to see that like, the filibuster was symbolic, masturbatory process. And now she's changed. She's gone back to the old days. She's regressed.
It's like a freaky or maybe it's like a Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
Maybe Kristen Sinema got Freaky Friday'd with like a conservative like niece or something.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That'd be the only explanation for what happened. Because she used to be like she used to be like a socialist, right? Well, all of a sudden she like forgets how to dress and is like super conservative. That's the only explanation I can think of.
I know we're gonna get to this is the kind of deep digging investigative journalism that we bring you at the Katie Halper Show. Yeah.
Yeah, Kirsten Sinema was Freaky Friday at some point.
With a niece. with a well-intentioned niece, with a niece who was precocious for her age, but terribly not precocious for a 40-something-year-old. All right, so let's go to our next prick. And this prick is someone who had tried to lecture Nina Turner, which is painful. This comes from a segment on Brown Keeler on CNN. And let's just introduce. Can we just see a picture of well, let me tell you who the segment that we're about to see is with Nina Turner, friend of show Nina Turner, the great Nina Turner, and also a guy named Jonathan Cott. Now, here's what you need to know about Jonathan Cott. He used to work for Joe Manchin. He also worked for Chris Coons, the Democrat senator from Delaware, who has those very, very cringe, like very uncomfortable photos of his daughter with Biden. She's red hair and she's like trying to disappear. So he also worked for the Third Way. So just reading his bio, Jonathan Cott is a partner at Capital Counsel, LLC. He brings nearly 20 years of communications policy and political experience to the firm. Cott served as communications director and senior advisor to Senator Joe Manchin for 7 years, helping the senator navigate the Manchin-Toomey bill in response to Sandy Hook. Chris Coons. Then he helped the senator in his role as a lead surrogate for the Biden campaign and through multiple COVID relief packages and the second impeachment. Those did well. Along with his time on the Hill, Cott has represented Fortune 50 companies at Burson Marsteller and Helpcraft, moderate messaging and policy at Third Way. Jonathan began his career as an intern for Senator Schumer and Governor Cuomo in New York City. So let's take a look at this interesting interaction between Jonathan and Nina Turner.
Now, they read all that information before they had them on the show, of course, right?
Presumably.
They mentioned.
They mentioned it? No, I don't. Yeah. No, I know.
Nina, to you first, just your reaction to what really appears to be voting rights legislation dead.
I mean, this is a sad day. We're in the 21st century, Brianna. We're not in the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century. And this is really a sad day, a sad time for democracy. And although the African-American community certainly shoulders an enormous burden when it comes to voting rights because of the historic import of how we had to fight and people had to die to get those rights, this is an attack, make no mistake, on every single person in this country, particularly the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. An absolute sad day that you have senators that would rather hold on to the filibuster than to hold strong for democracy in the United States of America. Sad indeed.
Jonathan, what do you say?
Yes, we need to pass Voting Rights Act. Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema's positions on the filibuster hasn't changed. They don't think it's good for the Senate and the country overall. And they're worried about what might happen when Republicans take back control of the Senate,
Okay, can I just say one thing? The argument about they worry about what's going to happen when Republicans take back the Senate, as if Republicans ever use any self-control because of the Democrats. Like, as if they're ever like, well, the Democrats didn't push too hard for this, so let's respect them and not like force through, like not place Obama's nom on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, the Democrats, the Republicans aren't waiting. I mean, it's so silly. It's so like kayfabe. It's like so fake. It's so professional wrestling. Like no one believes that these are the motivations behind what any of them are doing.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, isn't that far off? It was only 2 years ago they had complete control. So they are looking to preserve
what did they use
how the Senate works and force them to work in a bipartisan way. But Senator Manchin completely agrees that we need to reform our voting rights in this country, and he's working on it, and he's working on a bill, and he's hoping that he can get 9 more Republicans. But these things aren't easy, and they take time.
1 second, totally super. What's with the stray hair? You're a moderate. Come on, you're supposed to look moderate.
It does look like he's trying to look like a war zone reporter. Like he's trying to look like he's in the shit out there, like reporting on like
it's not even like a spit curl or anything. It's just like a stray, just renegade hair that's just not cooperating.
It's like when I think he did it. He put some pomade in it. He took a piece of it, put some pomade in it. Anyway, and shout out, by the way, to Case Study QB, who provides amazing clips.
Nina, what do you make
Brianna,
of that sort of preservation? Yes.
Preservation, my behind, Brianna. Look, we need to preserve democracy now. So I got to disagree with my colleague here. They better not utter not one quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not one, or any of his colleagues and contemporaries as we come up on his birthday on Saturday and the national celebration on Monday. These people are cowards. They are soulless cowards to hold up a daggone rule. Filibuster is a rule. It's not written in the Constitution. It's not a right. It is a rule, and they're standing in the way of it. So this is nonsense. They worried about what the Republicans going to do. Let's take care of 2022. Let's do what Democrats can do right now. They have the power. And my message to President Biden, now he done wasted a whole bunch of time with these folks, being diplomatic, inviting them out to the White House and to time out for it. He needs to hold a press conference, let them know. Either you're going to be by my side saying you're going to be with me and getting rid of the filibuster, or I'm gassing up the jet on your behind, and I will be in Arizona and West Virginia directly and let the American people know who's standing in the way of my entire agenda, not just voting rights. So President Biden, gas up the jet and cancel student debt. Those two things.
I think Biden's just trying to make sure his pants are not on backwards every day. Like, good luck.
That's not how Congress works. President Biden has a long history of working with senators. He knows the best way to do it is work with them, have constructive conversations. That's why he had the two of them over to the White House last night. They're going to keep working together. His
voice is so annoying. That's not how Congress works.
Great first year. He's had a historic first year, and Democrats should be celebrating that and running on that in 2022.
They're going to run on 2021.
And Arizona is not actually going to get it done. Okay. There are ways that people can get things done in D.C. Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema proved that with a historic infrastructure bill that they just passed. That's how you get things done. Slogans and, just yelling isn't the way it works. So if you want to actually get something done, sit down with them and keep talking. And that's what Senator Manchin's going to keep doing.
Give me a break. They've been sitting down and talking, Brianna, and that infrastructure bill, while we do need to repair infrastructure in the United States of America, that is not giving people something they can feel. People can't afford, the poor people are suffering in this country, and you got senators who are set for the rest of their natural lives playing games. The president has already sat down with them, Brianna. That tactic, that strategy is not working. And the rest of the senators on the Democratic side need to hold their colleagues accountable, because allegedly Sinema and Manchin are the only two holding out, which we know that's not true. If in fact it is true, though, let me lay that out there. If in fact it is true, then they need to hold their colleagues accountable. This passion, you know what, Brianna, there is a woman in Chicago. Her name is Martise Chisholm. She sent me a text last night saying how sad she is. You know why? Because she is of that child generation that grew up and watched her foreparents. Her great-grandmother was murdered. You hear me? Murdered on January 11th, 1966. And you know why she was murdered? Because she was standing up for voting rights, ran off the road by white supremacists and decapitated. So there are people who are still alive today who were either children during that time or elders during that time, fighting like hell in heaven to get voting rights. And here we are in 2022 kissing the behinds of two senators who could care less about the people in this country. So Jonathan, spare me. That's not how you're going to get things done. Yeah, I am outraged with a whole bunch of other folks who need to be outraged about what those two and others who are hiding behind them are doing. So President Biden, gas up the jet on these people.
Nina and Jonathan, look, I hear your frustration, Nina. I know a lot of people share that frustration, and I think this is such an important conversation to have. Spirited is the word I would use, as it is, because this is, I think, the division within your party right now, talking about these issues, and this is going to be so essential to discuss more in the year ahead. Nina, Jonathan, thank you so much to both of you.
What is it about liberals and the fetish for having conversations? Like, when did that enter the lexicon so hard?
To have.
Yeah, we need to have a conversation. It's never we need to have a solution. It's always we need to have a conversation.
Yeah, you're right. Really important dialogue. But you know what? I have to agree with my liberal sister, and this is such an important conversation. I want to bring someone else into this conversation because I think she has such an important perspective on this that we're all going to learn so much from. Welcome, Brianna Joy Gray.
Thank you for having me, Katie.
Thanks for coming.
You know, I often say when I have a problem, when the bills come due, when those student loan payments come down the pike, when I have to sign up for health insurance or an open enrollment period. Blue Cross Blue Shield, just sit down with me and have a conversation about whether or not I'm going to be insured next.
Just have a dialogue, just a constructive dialogue. I mean, that's really what's it's
Have a conversation with a collection agency, basically.
Look, the main takeaway I have from that exchange is how triggered I am by Nina Turner yelling at a Brianna. Every time she said her name, I was like, what did I do? You know.
This is a safe space. I know it is funny when it is. What are the odds? But yeah, what did you think of that?
Senator Turner's right. And, I met Martice Chisholm when I was covering Senator Turner's campaign in Cleveland in August, and ended up putting a clip of an interview with her. We were having a conversation about her relative who was killed, and she was speaking passionately about it then. And I asked if I could record her and put it on an episode of Bad Faith, and we did. And she's right. This isn't some long ago thing that we're talking about. This is something that's very present. And even the ethics of it aside, it's such a core issue for Democrats' viability as a party. It's really incredible that they put so little effort into getting this thing passed. And leftists sometimes joke about the fact that Democrats would rather lose than do something good for the people, but there's no finer example of voting rights is not like a giveaway to poor people. Right. Voting rights doesn't put any money in anybody's pocket or like directly benefit anybody in any way. I mean, there's a potential of that if the people that you elected were to do the right thing, but this is a very like step one of the process. Just voting rights serve principally the Democratic Party. Like that's what's happening here. They want people who have been historically disenfranchised, who typically vote Democrat, to be able to vote. And for that to be the case, and the Democratic Party not even want to act in its own solitary interest in this moment, really just reveals it all.
Yeah, it is really stunning. Right. This isn't about like something that we all wish the Democrats would fight for. This is about survival on some level for themselves.
Right. I was just listening to an episode of The Congressional Dish with Jen Briney, and she talks about this a lot. She calls them dingleberries, and the idea that you should separate out extremely popular bits of multi-part bills like these voting bills and attach them to must-pass bills like appropriation bills. Right. And, she was just lamenting on a recent episode, even if there is some aspect of this bill that might be controversial, even parts of the left are frustrated with this now combined voting rights bill because there are aspects of it that would make it more difficult for third-party candidates. Okay. Right. Why aren't we having standalone up-down votes on, the National Voting Day as a holiday, or paper ballots, or some of these less controversial things that the Republicans will have a harder time spinning as some kind of like undemocratic voting workaround. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that we even necessarily need to be there. The point of the matter is that Nina Turner is right, that there has been no significant energy behind any of this. And the voting rights advocates, I think, are really right to be really frustrated in this moment, although they shouldn't be especially surprised because there's no leverage and there hasn't been leverage for a while. And everyone on this panel has, spoken about on our respective shows the point at which there was leverage. And that point is far in the rearview mirror.
Right. By the way, I should add that Nina Turner responded on Twitter because, of course, people may have heard Jonathan Cott say that's not how Congress works in response to Senator Nina Turner. So she tweeted, "Congress is known for a lot of things. Working isn't one of them." So true. That's also true. Yeah. Well, we have another clip. I want to just show. We may have to skip one of my other favorite pricks of the week, because I think we need to give enough time to our final one. And it probably is no surprise. This is going to be a little anticlimactic, but the main prick of the week is indeed Joe Biden, because he's the prick that unites all these other pricks, basically, for this week's, at least, choice. So let's watch what Joe had to say on Tuesday. He was speaking at Morehouse College, and let's just watch this short clip of something that he had to say.
Spent my whole life fighting for civil rights.
Oh, no,
voting
no,
rights.
not this one. That's the clip that from this week, not the other clip, which we'll watch in a second. Brad, the one I texted you. Do you have that one? Okay, it's coming. So this is, of course, when Biden, you know what, maybe in the meantime, let me just play this really quickly.
President Biden took I believe,
that's not it. Where's the other one?
right and courageous.
That's a great one, though. That's a
All right, we
tricky
can watch
one.
it. All right, we can watch this quickly. Where's the other Kamala one? We can watch some of this though. Let's just keep playing this then until the other one.
To say that Senate rules should not get in the way of protecting the American people's access to the ballot. And he compared this time to a previous time in our history, which is apt for comparison.
It's not just Republican opposition. It would seem as if this piece of legislation is going to come down to one or two moderate Democrats. In months and weeks, the administration hasn't been able to convince one or two senators to come around. How are you going to do that in 2 or 3 days?
If I may, I'd like to contextualize this conversation. Sure. Which is, in 2006, in this very town of Washington, D.C., up the street at the United States Capitol, in the United States Senate, 98 of the 100 members of the United States Senate voted in favor of an extension of the Voting Rights Act. It was not a partisan issue. It was an American issue.
But, Madam Vice President, how are you going to get it done?
Well, when we have the discussion about who's responsible, I will not absolve the 50 Republicans in the United States Senate from responsibility for upholding one of the most basic and important tenets of our democracy, which is free and fair elections and access to the ballot for all eligible voters.
What about Senator Manchin? What about Senator Sinema?
I don't think anyone should be absolved from the responsibility of preserving and protecting our democracy, especially when they took an oath to protect and defend our Constitution.
Why has the administration not been able to get Senate Democrats on board?
They cannot be
We
absolved.
are not giving up.
No, but the question was why has it taken
But
this
you're
long?
acting as though it's over.
Well, I mean,
It's not over.
So it's going to happen by Monday.
I'm saying it's not over, and we don't give up. We don't give up, and we will not give up.
This is real-time gaslighting.
Are we going to see the same Democratic ticket
Is it
in
gaslighting if it couldn't work on anybody?
I'm sorry. We are thinking about today. I mean, honestly, I know why you're asking the question, because this is
Did you
part
already
of
ask?
the punch.
Yeah,
Thinking
right.
about today.
2024?
Don't give up, and we will not give up.
Are we going to see the same Democratic ticket in 2024?
I'm sorry. We are thinking about today. I mean, honestly, I know why you're asking the question, because this is part of the punditry and the gossip around places like Washington, D.C. Let me just tell you something. We're focused on the things in front of us. We're focused on what we need to do to address issues like affordable child care, what we need to do to ensure.
So there have been no conversations about 2024?
The American people sent us here to do a job. And right now there's a lot of work to be done, and that's my focus.
It sounds like
Which does not include figuring out how to rule this term or next term.
This clip looks like a clip from the Housewives reunion special, and he's like Andy Cohen just grilling Lisa Rinna, and she just can't come up with any more lies, man.
He's not even going that hard at her.
I know.
either. Like every interview with her turned adversarial because she's just so cagey.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because she won't answer the question. Yeah.
Talk about a Biden-Cheney ticket perhaps in 2024. Did you read that article?
I did not. I did not, and I really could care
In her
less
face.
about the high-class gossip on these issues.
High-class gossip.
I don't care what the haters say.
Yeah,
It was
clearly
her
they're
response.
not getting under your skin at all. Yeah. It's just so funny in that clip how she's like, I will not absolve people of their responsibility. And he's like, well, it's not just Republicans. She's like, I won't absolve anyone, but she doesn't name them. Like she doesn't say, yeah, Manchin and Sinema also need to be voting, doing the right thing. Like she won't go there.
Like here's a sentence I've never heard any of them say. I asked Manchin and Sinema what it would take for them to vote the right way. I offered them basically anything they asked. They could write their own blank check. They still refused to vote for this bill or any other bill because they're not being motivated by their constituents. And frankly, they're not even being motivated by personal greed. They're part of a system that wants to block export, like whatever it is, like pick your narrative. But no one actually says what's behind closed doors. If I had been haranguing, if I had been arguing with someone for months and they were being completely unreasonable, I would come out of the room and say, they're being completely unreasonable. I offered them the moon and the stars and they still won't take it. So constituents line up and ask them what the heck it is. I would give them, I would double the federal budget and give it all to West Virginia, half of it to West Virginia. And they still said, no, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Let them answer questions about why they wouldn't accept $100 billion for West Virginia.
Yeah. Put them on the hot seat with their own constituents.
Right, but because they will not throw them under the bus even that amount. They won't expose them even that amount. And that goes, by the way, to all the progressives who have also been privy on some level to these conversations about what's motivating who and what. Like when we had Ro Khanna on the show, I asked him about Manchin and Sinema, and he has some information at the time that made him feel like, yes, Manchin's not going to be the problem. The real problem is Sinema. He felt like that time Manchin was going to be able to play ball. Sinema was the one being unreasonable and not listing demands. So I want to know what was said in some room that gave him that impression, an impression that hasn't borne out, but there was something that was said. Let's use it to expose these people. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know. We'll release it. Ro, if you don't want it, it's okay. Go to Bree. Bree will say on her show. You can use a voice garbler, whatever you want, whatever you need. Yeah.
I've got Signal. Let's do this.
Yeah. We're on Signal. Well, let's play before we go to Joe Biden. Just really quickly, this is just the best question and answer I've ever seen.
6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Okay. What was she drunk there?
I think that's the lyrics from like Rent.
Yeah, it's
time to do what we've always been doing, and that time is now. 525,000 minutes.
Yeah, it works well for musical theater, actually. That's actually a good challenge, musical theater or political, like balderdash.
It's a Lin-Manuel Miranda lyric.
Yeah.
It's like she's hoping if she just goes through the motions of answering a question, like if it has the cadence of an answer, you can like mentally fool you into thinking she's actually answering something. So it has like the head tilt and the cadence of like an actual answer. So it almost like short circuits your brain for a second to thinking that you're actually listening to an actual answer, but it's just gibberish.
I think she may have actually fooled herself. Can we watch that again? It's so short, just her response. I actually think she's on the fence over whether or not what she's saying is total bullshit.
6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
Okay, look.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
I don't know. I feel like maybe she messed it up. She had memorized something that was a lot better, and maybe she messed it up. I'm not sure.
There's a thing I think that people are told, which is to repeat the last part of what somebody has said, because you hear people doing that a lot. Like if I ask you, Katie, what's the solution to the filibuster crisis? And you say the solution to the filibuster crisis is like, it's a thing that you hear people do in their questions and answers.
Incorporate
it's almost like a way to ground themselves as they launch into the answer. And so she like picked up, it is time. It is time. But then like wasn't quick enough to follow it up with what the next thing is. So then it just becomes a meditation on the notion of time.
It almost becomes like a Buddhist statement on time and impermanence.
Look, I kind of feel bad for her, to be honest. Like, I gotta say, people hate me for saying this, and I have never pulled any punch from Kamala Harris. And she chose her choices, right? She didn't have to work for this administration. She could have. There's a world where she said, "No, I don't want to be the VP because I still want to fight for Medicare for all and all these things I pretended to like before." That's not the world we're living in. So it's the world's tiniest violin. However, what's she gonna say? Like, she's being put in a really crappy position.
Right.
I mean, she really had no choice, though, because it's like, when she came in third in her state or something, like, she has zero popular support. So I think she probably felt is this or nothing. I have no grassroots anything, you know. So when they threw her the VP, I agree with you. For somebody with any hope of a future grassroots support, it was a bad deal. But yeah, I mean, I think this is her only chance of getting to be president. Like she's second in line to a corpse. So it's not a bad gamble.
Right. Yeah.
Well, look, it looks like the way these articles are coming out, they don't even want her to be the replacement for Biden if he were to step down, because I think why she bristled so hard at this idea that people would rather have Dick Cheney and Hillary Clinton floated again than incredibly think that Kamala could be president.
Well, speaking of the human husk that is the president right now, let's look at what Biden said recently at Morehouse College. This is his attempt to get people to vote for the filibuster carve out. And as Brad noticed, I was talking about this with him earlier. It's interesting. He's doing this in Georgia. Georgia has a state where both senators support this, right? It's not really, he's not forcing anyone's hand by going to Georgia. It's a photo op, which is, I think, why some people didn't show up there in the first place. So let's just take a look at this portion of what he said.
Spent my whole life fighting for civil rights, voting rights, social justice, economic justice.
No, Brad,
and
the other one. Still the other one. Do you have it or not? Because if not, I can play it from my...
And now, my fellow Americans, it is my honor.
It's a 1-minute clip I sent you. I can just play it from my Twitter and we can swap it out later. Hold on. I texted it to you. That was how I got it to you.
Spent my whole life.
I also like the idea that Biden spent his whole life fighting.
Yeah, you can play that one actually, Brad, while we're getting it. This is a good teaser for what he's gonna.
Racial jungle. That's his fight.
Yeah, yeah. You can play that, Brad.
When I'm your president. This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him on Robbins Island. When he came to the United States, when he came to the White House, to the Senate, I was chairman of the committee, and he walked in, and most incredible thing I've ever felt in my life. He walked across in that private room with the big table we have in the executive room, and he walked over, and I said, Mr. President, he leaned, I said, thank you. Thank you for trying to come and see me.
Okay, so let's pause it there. So a couple of things to note. This is from 2016 primary, but I'm playing that because I didn't have the clip that I'm about to play now. But as some of you may recognize, that's him claiming that he was arrested in South Africa, trying to visit Nelson Mandela. Now, spoiler alert, that never happened. Literally never happened. So he pretended he went to visit Nelson Mandela and got arrested. But that didn't happen. His campaign had to release a statement explaining that. And yet the man, he's unstoppable. He's unstoppable because here he is. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What was the explanation before you play the clip? I'm just curious.
Oh, I'll tell you the explanation. Let's see.
Okay, great.
Tyler, do you have the other clips from there? Okay, hold on. This is what the campaign said. He was separated from the Congressional Black Caucus members he was traveling with at the airport when he landed, Bedingfield said on Tuesday. That was someone who worked for his campaign. It was a separation. He was not allowed to go through the same door as the rest of the party he was with. Obviously, this was apartheid South Africa. There was a white door. There was a black door. He did not want to go through the white door and have the rest of the party go to the black door. He was separated. Talk about gaslighting. Like, no, he didn't say I was separated. He said I was arrested.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if you want to play the game like he was stopped, you know, like, oh, he was literally arrested.
No, he had a fast pass. He was given privileges.
Yeah, I know. What it's and you want to know something sad is that apparently even that, and because that is consistent with what he said in his memoir, where he says, when I exited the plane, I was directed to one side of the tarmac while the African-American congressmen traveling with me were sent to the other side. I refused to break off, and the officials finally relented. But Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler pointed out that even that explanation may not stand up to scrutiny because of the way congressional delegations at that time didn't land in South Africa, but in Lesotho. So
Katie, one day we're going to go on vacation together and you're going to have TSA pre-check and I'm not going to have it because I'm irresponsible. And you're going to say, I will not leave Brianna Gray behind. She will go through the fast pass with me. And you may or may not be arrested. And that stand will be more courageous than this Biden lie.
Yeah, seriously. Yep.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, he said this a couple of times, okay? And poor Andrew Young, he got Andrew Young, the ambassador, in trouble because he said he was there with him. And Andrew Young was like, no, that absolutely never happened. We were not arrested trying to visit Biden. And also they were landing somewhere else. So it was like very far away from where he was in jail. But let's play the clip of that's 2016. Let's fast forward to just the other day where he's stumping for voting rights for the filibuster carve out for voting rights.
Introduce a leader who is unwavering.
Because
All right.
the struggle to protect voting rights has never been born by one group alone. We saw freedom riders of every race, leaders of every faith marching arm in arm, and yes, Democrats and Republicans in Congress of the United States and in the presidency. I did not live the struggles of Douglas, Tubman, King, Lewis, Goodman, Cheney, Swerner, countless others, known and unknown. I did not walk in the shoes of generations of students who walked these grounds, but I walked other grounds because I'm so damn old I was there as well. They think I'm kidding, man. Seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested. Anyway. But their struggles.
Okay. So
here,
he was not arrested.
Ever.
And he's had to confess to that. And he evokes the names of Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney, among others, who were killed by the KKK registering people to vote. Like they were killed for that. They went into the South. They were killed in Mississippi for doing that. And he like taints that by lying and bragging about a civil rights activism past that he doesn't even have.
It starts off when he's reading the script. It starts off like he's doing the thing where he's like, well, I'm white, obviously, so I haven't stood in the footsteps of people who went to this HBCU and so, the black people who fought and died and struggled. But then you throw in 2 Jewish people who got killed. Right. And it feels like there's something that triggered in Biden's mind. Well, like, oh, we're not just saying that I can't be in the club because I'm white.
Right.
So, and I am old. I am old enough to have literally been participating in all of those struggles, even though I didn't. I am old enough to have been that person like Bernie Sanders, but I wasn't like Bernie Sanders. And so now I'm like defensively going to inject myself into it. Oh, yeah, I guess I was there because now I'm allowed because there was this opening by talking about these 2 white guys who were killed.
Yeah,
it's actually worse than not participating in the struggle because he did participate, but on the wrong side.
Yes. As an antagonist.
You mean when he was defending when he was
anti-busing,
talking about racial jungle?
Yeah,
and all that
you know why he was
stuff.
anti-busing? Because he was rejection of black pride. A rejection of black is beautiful. He literally said that in an interview. There's audio of him saying it. I think we listened to it, T. Right? We played it's unbelievable.
My favorite
it's not like hyperbole, but she's absolutely right.
He literally said that. Literally.
My favorite is the crime bill speeches where he talks about like it could be my grandmother. They're out there and they're beating your grandmothers over the head with crowbars and snatching their purses. He's a real trip, that Joe Biden.
Yeah, and he was wasting away, poor guy, and he was just back-to-back incarceration here, for going to the Mississippi and South Africa for trying to reach his dear brother Nelson Mandela.
Was it between those trips or before that when he was benevolently letting all the black kids cornrow his leg hair at the pool?
Oh my God, cornrow his leg hair. That should be his memoir, cornrowing my leg hair. Well, they would go up and down his golden leg hairs.
Oh, I hate everything. I want to leave it. I want to leave here.
Yeah. And corn pop, of course, he was able to, I don't know. What do you guys, final thoughts on this? Cause I got to jump over to Leslie's College soon, but what are your final thoughts on that? To me, there was something like so disgusting about it, but it's just such a, the big lie, honestly, is there's that lie. And that to me was just so disrespectful on so many levels to so many different communities and people, and disgusting and show this sociopathic side of him. But the other big lie is like, this is the guy who can get it done, right? That's why he was supposed to win. That's what he sold himself as, the pragmatist. He knew how to work with the Senate. He was a creature of the Senate. He could get it done. He knew how to make deals. He's going to get it done. And now he's all running around and he's not getting it done. Like he doesn't have good politics and he's not a pragmatist. Like Bernie, obviously, look, I'm not like surprising anyone. I thought that Bernie's ideas were great, but he also got shit done. And we see him running around the country and actually getting way more stuff done than Biden. But like, why did we vote for you? I mean, why did people vote for you? Why did people vote for you, Biden? Like, you're not getting it done. What are you doing? You're standing up there. You're lying about getting arrested.
A lot of people are going to make a lot of money trying to answer that question for the Democrats. And I don't think they're going to come up with an answer before it's time for reckoning.
Because like nobody cares. Like, let's just be honest. We are all saying what we've been saying this whole time. We all said this during the primary. For half a second, even Kamala Harris said this. Literally nobody cares. Do you remember when at the beginning of all of this, there were the initial Me Too allegations and Kamala Harris was like, I believe all of these women. And then like nobody ever brought it up. This is a failure of the fourth estate. Nobody cares because nobody asked the question. Literally nobody. And no matter how much we scream, there's a certain amount of like a wall between left media and mainstream media. Like something like this will never permeate. Like ever. Like because they fundamentally do not care. Brittany Cooper or whoever else is going to write the next think piece. I saw you, T, causing mischief on the internet today.
Oh.
but none of those people are ever gonna write about something like this. They just do not care.
Yeah. And again, if Trump had done this, had lied and said he was arrested and he never was, the entire media would be up in arms about this. Everyone would be upset about it. And the fact that it was only like the Washington, Examiner that mentioned this.
People were more mad that Bernie, who did go to the March on Washington, said, I went to the March on Washington, than they are about Joe Biden lying about having a civil rights record.
On multiple occasions. Multiple occasions. Yeah.
These people have no consistent principles at all. And part of me is trying to think, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen as far as a stranglehold that this type of mentality has on the discourse and the media, but I just think it add hope with, the rise of Bernie Sanders and everything. But since then, it just seems to have been the revenge of Sorkin. Like I feel like I thought that Sorkin-esque mindset was kind of on the way out, and it came roaring back with a vengeance in a very demoralizing way for me, at least. I don't know.
The adults in the room are back.
Yeah, the adults are back. The adults in the room, yeah. Oh my God, this is amazing. We're 8 months into this pandemic, and Donald Trump doesn't have a plan to get this virus under control. I do. Wow.
You forgot it.
Where is it?
Yeah, can we see it? Seriously.
Well, people were laughing because he left, his whole campaign website up, so it's just stock full of all of these promises that haven't gotten fulfilled.
Wow.
So people all last week were just like tweeting clips of his own like 2020 campaign website at him.
That's great. Yeah. Well, you guys, this has been amazing. Any last thoughts? I know I got to hop on Leslie's call-in with Leslie.
Well, let me mention before everybody goes. So I will be doing a call-in show on the call-in app. You can also find me at 1-900-culture.com. That's 1-900-culture.com. I invite in Bree and T if you want to join me on there as well. But we're not doing you. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I was actually hoping to talk with you about some, TV shows, some movies, some culture, what you've been watching. So if anybody wants to call in, talk to me, talk to Kay, talk to anyone else, just head on over to the call-in app. Sorry, iOS only for now, but archived immediately after at 1-900-culture.com.
Yeah. So Leslie, you want to run over there and I'll call in? I'll just sign out. I'll just say goodbye to everyone. All right.
All right.
Bye, Leslie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you
soon. Guys, thank you so much. Bree and T, everyone listen to their shows. They're both on call in also, actually. Let's do another call. tape show soon. Happy MLK Day. As Hillary Clinton is warning people, beware of the white moderate, as she tweeted out the other day. So that is true.
The call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I will put up a piece. I have to post this piece of. I have like it's just kind of embarrassing listicle, but of like 10 anti-capitalist quotes from MLK that I will put up that you can look at when people are trying to whitewash him, as they do on this day. And again, Bree or T, any final thoughts?
No, like the stream.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Katie's channel. Go follow and listen on Callin. I also have a new Callin show, which has been a lot of fun, and I feel a little looser, and we have some good chats. So while you're over at Callin, subscribe and follow to all of your favorite people and shows over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same. Check out, give Katie the likes. There's no reason to be in here, and you just can't move the mouse over and just click
you bum.
the like button. And go to champagnesharks.com if you want to follow me. And also, everyone else has been on here today is great, so make sure to follow everybody. That's it.
Great. And become Patreon supporters, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Become YouTube members for cool badges and emojis. And we will see you on Tuesday. And also for my Useful Idiots viewers out there, see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at youtube.com/Useful Idiots, where Aaron Mate and I will be reacting to the Sunday morning shows that we watch, so you don't have to. Bye, everyone.
Take care.